Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of the Ohana BKT-70G. It's their baritone body connected with a tenor neck, giving you a completely different experience on ukulele than anything else that I've ever played, and I really like it. I would like to thank Ohana for sending me this along with a concert Vita to review. Both wonderful instruments, and as you'll see at the end, very highly recommended to you. Now, before we go any further in this review, I do need to make a confession, which is a few weeks ago I was filming a Christmas song, in fact a cover, and as I was recording it, I was sitting on a stool that's a folding stool, and the stool collapsed on me, felt, folded back while I was playing, and I crashed and landed into the backdrop, knocked over a couple lights, and the ukulele hit the ground. So this one does have some more damage right there, as you can see it, which I feel awful about, but I don't want to hide the fact that it happened. And just also a message to people out there that accidents happen even when you don't plan on it. You can try to be taking care of instruments as much as you can, and who knows what happens. You trip walking up a stairs, or a child or a grandchild runs into it. They can happen. As you'll see later, the damage is only superficial. It actually doesn't show through the instrument to the inside, which is really good news. But still, that's a heartbreaking thing to experience when you have no intention of hurting the instrument. So I want to make sure that that's clear out there. I suppose you could rate the instrument a little bit higher in terms of durability. I have no intention of doing a durability test with these reviews. Now, what I do with these reviews is I look at subjective issues that I've just decided to look at with all instruments. Then I take a look at the specifications for the instrument, and then I come back with a summary and then a UkeGuide rating. Well, let's begin then with the subjective issues, and the first one is cost. This lists on Ohana's website for $389. On the dealer websites like Mims Ukes and the Uke Republic, they list for $259. So really, quite honestly, they're very affordable for a solid spruce top, baritone body, tenor scale neck. You're not going to find that many other places unless you have it custom made, although Romero Creations does a lot of sides mixing as well. So this is really probably one of the most affordable ways to get into a mixed scale instrument at this level. Now, in terms of value, Ohana doesn't send you any extra things with this instrument when you buy it. You just get the instrument. I wish that they did more than that in 2021. For example, you can buy so many beginner ukuleles now that include a gig bag for a much, much lower price. They're not this instrument, though, to be honest. But still, with that in mind, I would love to see Ohana include a gig bag with their instruments. And it'd be fun to see some accessories too, like a tuner or so forth. It's probably time, considering that the whole industry has moved another direction. Now, in terms of value, though, you're getting a very well-made ukulele with a solid top, and then, of course, the size mixture. So that all said, it still is a good value. It just doesn't have the package of things that you'd probably like to see in 2021. Now, in terms of build quality, it's really well made. It's cleanly put together on the outside. The gloss was absolutely perfect until I had the accident with it, but it's really, really well made. There is nothing at all wrong with the outside. There's nothing wrong also with the inside. But to show you that, I always do a little camera dive in there. So let's take a look at the internal Uke Cam for this instrument. All right, let's take a look on the inside of the Ohana BKT-70G. So you can see the bottom braces right there as we're going in. So there's the first one and the second one. Then looking at the back, we have more of that just straight curving from Ohana, as we saw with their Vito concert. And there's the tail block. Looks like it comes out of a very nice piece of wood. And you can see that there's fan bracing on the top. There's a bridge plate that extends the entire width of the instrument. And then some extra bracing down at the bottom. One item to note is, as I mentioned in the video, I damaged this instrument, not intentionally, but that damage is over here, and it does not punch through to the ukulele itself on the inside. All right, let's take a look at the upper bout. You can see the laminate mahogany, the spruce top on the top. You can see the support there for the neck and the neck block. Very little glue mess. You can see a little glue here and there, but it's generally a very clean build. Just solid strips of kerfing rather than notch kerfing. And that's our quick look at the BKT-70G by Ohana. All right, so we're back. Very clean build on the inside. The one thing that I do question is why Ohana uses the straight kerfing instead of notch kerfing. I did ask and I haven't heard back yet, so unfortunately I don't have an answer for that. If I do hear back from them, I'll try to put something in the comments about why they choose to have straight kerfing instead of notch kerfing in their instruments. Now let's talk about appearance. What do you see most here? Is it the baritone body? I don't know, that's obviously the thing that catches my eye, as well as the interesting location of the sound hole seems lower with this body configuration. Is it perhaps the slotted headstock that looks great? That little Ohana inlay in there. Or do you see the hibiscus there? I forget about that, and I'm kind of glad about that because I'm not really a hibiscus guy, but I forget about it. Do you notice the lack of front position markers? But thankfully, there are very clear side position markers on the side. You can't see it, but there's a slightly bound edge on the fretboard. Although, in my dry climate, I did have some frets start popping through, even though I'm keeping this humidified. Do you see the rosette on there with the sort of purfling layout? Or do you see the purfling or the binding up there? What is most attractive to you? Or is it just the pattern of that laminate mahogany? I don't know, there's a lot of things to look at here. Or the gloss finish with the spruce top. There are so many things here. It's not every possible combination of things, of accessories and appearance and appointments you can put on to an ukulele, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's really well done and put together. People will definitely confuse it for a small guitar. There's no question about it. All that said, I think it looks really tremendous. Now, as it comes to availability, you are sort of at the mercy of the supply chain right now, and as well as what Ohana orders and then what dealers can get. So I know when I received this, Mims Ukes had several of these in stock. At the moment, as I'm making this video, they do not have any. This still lists as available at the Uke Republic. So you might have to check around to a few dealers. They do get them back in. This model continues to be restocked. It's not discontinued. But just so you know, it is out there, but you may not be able to get it immediately from your dealer of choice without a little bit of a wait. And that's especially true in 2021. Now, in terms of playability, it's a 36mm nut, so it's a little bit wider than your 35mm nut by 1mm. But the string spacing is very much like a 35mm tenor as it is. Basically 29mm G to A, just about 9mm between the strings up there. The action was really good, 0.5mm at the first fret, 2.5mm at the 12th fret. Overall, it's playable, very playable. And especially if you're used to a 35mm nut, very, very easy to play. If you have larger hands, the next thing I'm going to say may help you. It has a very thick neck profile, and it's one of the thickest neck profiles that I've experienced while measuring these for the UkeGuide. It's over 24mm at the 3rd fret, and we'll get back to that with the specifications later, but that's a really thick neck, and the shape is thick. So one thing that I think would help this instrument just a touch would be a different profile of the neck. And I think that's true of most of the Ohanas that I own. Ohanas have a very rounded neck. I'd like to see them apply just a slightly different profile to their instruments, and I think that would make them even more playable than they currently are. And then finally, in terms of playability, I need to mention this here. I've had baritones that were tuned GCEA, and that tension just feels wrong to me, over tight, having to struggle to play. This is that perfect balance that if you want a baritone sounding-ish ukulele with tenor tuning, this is that perfect mix, unless you're desperately looking for the baritone string spacing. So it brings a really good combination of both those together. Ohana really hit it out of the park with that combination. It works really well. Now, in terms of sound quality, It's pretty much everything you'd want out of a spruce top, laminate back and sides instrument. It's bright, it's loud, it's clear, it's balanced. It's chimey, but not overly so, I think partially because of the Aquila strings. However, the Aquila strings are not a negative on this instrument. They balance it out pretty well. I might try Martin strings in the future, fluorocarbons, just to see what would happen, but I think generally you're going to be pretty happy with the Aquilas that come with it. It's a real nice match for this instrument. One of the things I like to do in these reviews is let you see what I'm hearing, so I use the app Tonal Energy Tuner on my iPad to let you have a visual glimpse of what I'm hearing. So what I do is I play the C chord, or G chord if it's a baritone, and I let you see what's happening both with the initial strum and then with the sustain using this app. Here we go. So you can see there's when you strum the instrument, you see the whole spectrum light up, and then you see pretty decent sustain across a number of the different frequency bands as it holds out, which means that it has a pretty good sound with pretty good sustain. Well, those were the subjective issues. Let's talk about the specifications. It is a tenor scale instrument, 17.125 inches from the nut to the saddle, even though it has a baritone body. It has 19 frets, and quite honestly, the highest frets are sort of useless up there. So Ohana probably could have stopped at like 15. It probably would have been just fine, but 12 to the body, almost like a soprano. There are side position markers, but no front-facing markers, although you do get the hibiscus in the front. The body style is a double bout. I think some people would call that more of a dreadnought shape. It's definitely not shaped like many other ukuleles. It has a little bit of a wider stance to it, which also makes that sound hole in its location look a little different. It's a little different of a look. The soundboard is solid spruce. The back and sides are laminate mahogany. The fretboard and bridge are rosewood. The bridge is a rosewood bridge, and it's very diminutive in size considering the size of that soundboard, and it is a tie bar bridge. It is not a radius fretboard, and the nut and saddle are made out of bone. The saddle is not compensated, and the finish is gloss. That was really well done on the instrument. The overall length was 27.625 inches, and it weighed 1 pound 10 ounces, and it is a little bit body heavy, which is okay. It's okay. It's not terrible, but you can feel the body pull down a little bit, and that's because you've got a baritone body with a tenor neck. It has rear-facing tuners that work wonderfully. The action at the first fret was 0.5 millimeters, and the action at the 12th fret was 2.25 millimeters. The nut width is 35.75 millimeters, so just short of 36. The string spacing at the first fret was 8.96 millimeters between each string, and that's 28.97 G to A, so basically 29 G to A. And the depth of the instrument at the third fret, I measured from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck, was 24.08 millimeters. That's pretty thick, and it is my only criticism truly of the instrument as a whole is that that's a really, really thick profile. I'd love to see a different profile with the instrument. All right, now that we've talked about the specifications, let's summarize the instrument for you. There's really no surprise here. I like Ohana as a company. I'm one of those people that quite honestly has very seldom met an ukulele that I didn't like or a company that I didn't like what they were doing. And they actually have to be doing things purposely sort of wrong for me to actually not like what they're doing. I root for everybody, and I try to be honest in the reviews, but I'm certainly not overly critical of things. I try to find things in a positive light. This one doesn't need much work at all to be positive about. It's such a different thought of finally taking a baritone body and putting it together with a tenor neck for all those people who've been trying to tune baritones as tenors. So what you get is you get the bigger sound of a baritone with that GCA tuning, although this body would really take low G quite well. And it's actually kind of surprised that Ohana doesn't ship it that way. I also like the fact that it is a spruce top, and spruce can be so stark, in color, but the gloss really balances it out and makes it very attractive. However, it does appear very guitar-like, and if you own one of these, expect people to ask you why your guitar is so small. My complaints about the instrument are so minor. I don't really care for the hibiscus. I forget that it's there, thankfully, but I'd rather just have front-facing dots on the front of the ukulele. I'm kind of a traditionalist that way. The sound hole is kind of in a different spot. Maybe if they made the fretboard a little shorter, they could bring it up to where it would sort of normally be. It seems low to me. And then the major issue for me is that the neck profile is really chunky, and it's something that I'd love to see Ohana fix in the future. Added to that is I'd love to see a gig bag included with every Ohana instrument, as well as maybe some extras like a tuner. Even if you had to pay a little more for it, it's at the point where it feels like when you're spending $250 on an instrument, you should get a gig bag with it. So let's get to the UkeGuide rating. I rate ukuleles between 0 and 5 ukuleles. And with this one, I'm going to rate it a 4.5, although you could argue me up to a 5. The pricing is good. It's decent for this sort of instrument. You're still getting the value out of it. You're getting a great sound out of it. And it's got really special looks and special characteristics with that tenor neck with the baritone body. It even feels different as you hold it. So it's really a nice ukulele. I wish, again, that the neck profile is a little different. I wish that it came with a case. Maybe if the fretboard were a little shorter, the sound hole could move up a little bit. And of course, I'd love to see a version without the hibiscus. But those are all really minor points except for the neck, which I think would be the only structural thing that I would change with the instrument. So it's really, really good. So I'm going to say 4.5. If you want to say 5, that's fine. But I think it's right up there. It's a really wonderful instrument. If you've been interested in a baritone tuned tenor, I'd encourage you to try this instead. I think you'll be pretty happy with the result. So again, thanks to Ohana for sending this and the Vita to me for review. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.